In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the front fender on this Toyota Camry. If you need any parts for your car, check us out at oneauto.com. Let's get started. It doesn't really matter where you start on doing all of this, but I prefer to start at the bottom so that when the fender's ready to come off, I can have the top bolts ready to remove, and then those would be the last ones. So having said that, I'm going to start by removing a couple clips here on the front bumper so we can peel this off, and then we'll work on the back side. This little clip at the bottom here, you can use a flathead screwdriver on it, turn it 90 degrees, it'll kind of clip into place like this, and this will allow you to pull it out, not all the way, but most of the way. Well, unless it pops out, it should technically stop. But this should release pressure off of this tab so that you can peel the bumper away just a little bit. I will put this back in just so I don't lose it. There we go. This is where it should stop, halfway. So I'm going to leave this undone like this. Let's move further up. Up here you'll need a very small Phillips headed screwdriver so that you can undo this Phillips head style push clip. Now a lot of times these do break, so and the threads are usually stripped out. As you can see here, I have to twist and pry at the same time, pretty much just pry. And once you pull it out enough, the whole clip should come out. Now you can peel the bumper away. Up here it's just held on with clips. There we go, that's all we need. Up along the fender liner, where it meets the fender, you'll see several push clips. Let's pop these off. To do that, you just grab a trim tool, stick it in here, pop out the center, and then pull out the rest of it. Yep, sometimes they break. It is what it is. I have new ones on hand to replace them. These get very brittle over time. Further back, you'll see one more. This one might also break. Oh, never mind, this one didn't break. All right, saved one. Another one further down. Another different style retainer over here. This one most likely will break. A lot of these do break, so when you pull it out, just be careful. Oh, yep, well, it is what it is. Gonna have to replace it with a regular style push clip. There's a Phillips head screw down by the side skirt here. If you can't access it, turn the steering wheel so that the wheel faces away. That'll give you enough space to get a screwdriver in here. This exposes another one of those retainers, which hopefully we'll be able to pry out. If not, we'll have to replace that one as well. Yep, looks like this one broke as well. Underneath, there's a 10mm bolt that secures the fender liner onto the side skirt. Remove this bolt. It's a little bit stuck and rusty. Hopefully yours doesn't break. Right behind that is a plastic push clip that we have to remove. There are two actually. One will be even further behind, but we have to take this out so that we can push this side skirt out of the way and get to some of the hardware that holds the fender on. These looks like they're in still very good condition, so they are easily removable. Just pop out the center and then remove the rest of it. And same thing a little bit further back. With the door slightly open, you can now pull on the side skirt. That should pop it out. You don't need to go far, just enough to expose this area here so we can access some more hardware for the fender. Behind there, you'll see a 10mm bolt. Let's remove it. There's a bunch of seam sealer down there, which is normal. That's from the factory. You will have to either cut into it or just pry away until it breaks free, but that's all that's holding this fender on at the bottom at this point. Also, this clip should have come off with the side skirt, so I'm going to pry it away and put it back into the side skirt. There we go. And there we go. Between the door and the A-pillar, you'll see this 10mm bolt. This is going to be the last thing holding the fender on at the top on the outside here, other than the bolts that are under the hood, of course. But when you do this, be very careful of your door, the paint on the door. Make sure you don't damage it. And if you are afraid of doing so, put some masking tape on the door so that in case you do hit your extension on this, it won't damage the paint. It'll just hit the tape. Okay, now you should be able to separate this part of the fender. Perfect. At the top of the fender, we'll have to undo several fasteners, but also if your vehicle has this, there's going to be a plastic cover here with this rubber seal. All you have to do to get this out is just pry up. It has some plastic push clips that has to come off. Looks like this one got stuck on the fender, so I'm going to take a trim tool, pop it out, and they just sit on the bottom side of this piece. Put it back in here. Now let's remove the 3 10mm headed bolts that hold the fender onto the brackets here, but also we have to remove this bolt or the screw for the headlight, so basically 4 10mm headed fasteners in total. If you peel this away, you'll see this 10mm bolt here. Let's loosen this so we can remove this plastic bracket. Okay, take that out. Now you can remove this plastic bracket here. Just pull it out. This exposes the 2 fasteners that hold the fender onto the bracket back here. So let's remove both of these. Now you'll be able to take the fender, pull it backwards so that you can release it from behind the headlight. Try not to scratch the door. And there it is. From your old fender, you would have to transfer this plastic piece on the back to the new one. This is what basically seals up the fender or the wheel arch from the door jamb right here. All you have to do to get this out is just squeeze in on these little plastic clips, and that will pop it out. There are several along the fender. If you just squeeze in on both ends, pry it down. Oh, there we go. Okay, with the last one out, here's this plastic piece. One last thing we have to transfer over is this white clip that holds the headlight in. Pinch it and pop it up through the top. There it is. And down here, if any of your retainers that had those screws going through them are still in good condition, pop them out and put them in the new fender. Mine are in extremely poor condition, so I'm just going to source new ones and pop those in. Let's reverse everything to install. So I'm going to start with the headlight retainer. Pop that in. Make sure it clicks. This plastic piece that went on the back of the fender had some clips that it'll clip in with. Snap them into place. There we go. Now bring the fender in. Careful not to scratch anything. Try to get it behind the headlight. Okay, everything seems to be lining up very nicely. So let's start bolting it in. I'm going to start with what I ended, and that is the top here. I'm going to start the headlight screw in. However, I will not tighten anything until they're all in, because this is most likely going to have to move around in order to get it lined up properly. So I'm going to start in the other 2 here towards the top. Just a few turns, that's all. This can still move around, that's what I want, but it can't fall off. Okay, now the bolts behind the bumper cover. These ones are a little trickier to get to because you have to push the fender up a little bit. The headlight's kind of pulling it down. There we go. Just get it started. We'll leave that. Don't put that bracket on yet because obviously that'll prevent you from getting into those bolts. So let's go to the back and put the ones on the A-pillar on. Let's get this one reinstalled behind the door at the top. There we go. Just like the other ones, don't tighten it. Just thread it in partially. Everything still moves. Last one is going to be at the bottom. Got this one started as well. It's not started much, so I'm going to thread it in a little more. There we go. Perfect. So at this point, we can actually start tightening things because all of the hardware is started. Since I'm here, I will start by tightening this one up. When you tighten these, just make them snug. Don't over tighten them. They are small and you don't want them to break. There we go. This at the bottom was easy to line up because the seam sealer had to basically break and create a seam. Once you line that up, it should be good to go. Let's tighten up this one at the top of the A-pillar here. When tightening this, you can see the marks that the old fender left on the A-pillar from the paint. So I'm going to try to line those up. Because they're not perfectly lined up, I'm going to loosen this up just a little bit, and that will allow me to push the fender and maneuver it in a way in which it does line up perfectly. There we go. Snug this up. That's perfect right there. When doing this, you also want to make sure this body line lines up and it is even. Looks like it's perfectly even here. And this doesn't look perfect here, but actually it's the same on the other side, on the other fender, so that's exactly how I'm going to leave it. At the top, let's tighten these up once they're lined up. I'm going to start with this one that's furthest back. And these two at the front. This one on the headlight, it's a screw that goes into plastic, so you want to make sure you don't over tighten this. That's it right there. Since we're done up here, let's install this cover. Line up the push clips, press it down. Now let's go back behind the bumper here and tighten up these two bolts that hold the fender onto the bracket back here. Make them snug. Now let's get this plastic bracket resecured. Clip it on to the back here. It just has a clip that'll hold it on temporarily, and now you can put this bolt in on the front. Snug it up. Take the bumper cover and line it back up. Tap it in. It should clip onto that black plastic retainer back there. Let's put this little push clip back in on the front here. Make sure it goes all the way through and press it in to lock it. There we go. Now this right here, press the bumper cover in. If it's not already, looks like mine is. Press this in and turn it 90 degrees counterclockwise to lock it. Let's get the side skirt back on here. Line up all the push clips. Before we line up the side skirt here, got that fender liner behind it, just like that. If any more popped out further down, pop them in. For me, this should be good to go. 3 fasteners in total down here, 1 screw, a push clip towards the front, and 1 towards the rear. For these 2 areas, I ended up with some push clips. They will hold on nice and tight because unfortunately I was not able to source new screw type retainers. So this will be my next best option to get this fastened properly. Another push clip up here. And 1 up here on the fender liner, where it meets the fender. And last one right up here. At this point, you're done, so check your body lines. Make sure that everything lines up. Make sure that the gaps between the panels are even. So you want to check right here between the door that it's even top to bottom. And you want to check between the A-pillar and the fender, of course, on the bumper side and along the hood. So when you shut the hood, make sure that the left side matches the right side and everything is even front to back. Having said that, job is done.
I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it was helpful. If you have anything to say, leave it in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you can stay up to date with all of our latest content. Thanks for watching.